So thank you everyone for joining us on our last live Q&A session for the Biz Up Buffalo Survival Kit series. It has been different, I will say that. I think kind of diving into this whole, virtual world, we've definitely, technology has been both our friend and and a little bit of our enemy at times. But I think we're making it through. I have to say, all the TA providers here at Passstone Enterprise Center have done a wonderful job in providing content, not just for us that are working within Passstone Enterprise Center, but for everyone that has both, viewed all of the videos on our YouTube channel and attended our live Q&A sessions. So to kind of bring us full circle, we have wonderful Jessica Lewis. She is the CEO of LaLu Public Relations. This is the person that you want to have on your side. That's going to really help you, get your business out into the spotlight, get more people engaged with your business. And she's here to kind of give you tips on what you can do yourself as far as like promoting yourself on social media, how you can reposition your business, during a time of crisis. So I will let her take it away and go right for it, Jessica. Bear with me one second. Hey, there we go. All right, Jessica, we're here now.
Yes. Okay, did everyone get kicked off or just me?
I hope not.
It might have just.
Yeah, I still see names, but yeah, you were definitely frozen for a second there.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. I'm back. So again, just want to say thank you so much to Passstone. Thank you so much to the wonderful staff for putting this on and for having me. I want to make today's live Q&A as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, or if you watched the 2 previous videos that were uploaded this week, please chime in. I definitely want to tailor so that you guys can get the most out of this session, because I know that, these have obviously been some challenging times, but I believe that there's been opportunity. And so as the owner of LaLu Public Relations, I've been able to capitalize on the opportunity that this pandemic has given me. And so I want to be able to help you all find the opportunity as well. So I'm just going to pause for a moment. If anyone has any questions, you can either turn on your video or you can drop it in the chat. Yes.
Question for you. As small business owners are making their reopening plans, I think New York State's phase 2 begins this weekend, and we'll have a second wave of industry that begins to reopen. What should small business owners be thinking about in terms of how they're going to communicate their new protocols and business practices to their staff and their clients?
That's an awesome question. So what I would recommend is that, first off, like my own business, we just launched a new newsletter. So for everyone who's been connected to LaLu, or anyone who is connected to us on social media, can now see our new newsletter. And so LaLu has always been remote, so we weren't impacted in that way. But in terms of what we plan to do and how we are available to help small business owners, that's information that people can find right at the click of a button. If you have a website, you might want to list what your phase 2 reopening plans look like. You might want to list, if you're putting in certain precautions or if you're doing things differently. Like I just watched the governor's press conference today. Offices can only be at 50%. They were even saying on one of the national programs, like if someone comes out of a room to wait a few minutes before you go in. So whatever it looks like for your particular business, you definitely want to have that communicated where people can access it easily. Your website, your social media pages. If you don't have a newsletter, you can use a MailChimp. It's absolutely free. That's the one that I use. And you can start writing some of those things and, just kind of the word that I'm thinking of is really housing and kind of archiving like where this material lives so that people can access it easily. And so I would really leverage those three mediums to communicate with your customers or potential customers.
Thank you. I also know that New York State is requiring all businesses to complete and make available, in case they're inspected by the Department of Health, a New York State Reopen Safety Plan.
Yes.
And I think that's available off the New York Forward website.
Yes.
Also, the governor signed an executive order yesterday authorizing businesses to deny people if they enter their business without wearing a face covering. So I was just wondering, what example, can you give us some examples of encouraging language that people can use? Like no mask, no service is kind of harsh, right? It's to the point. But how can, say, via your newsletter or your website or your social media accounts, how can you encourage people to exhibit the right behaviors? What kind of positive reinforcing language would you suggest people use?
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a sample message in the chat. So 1 second. Okay. So this is just something really quick. Also, the governor, people have been doing a lot of fun things with their face masks. So you could say, we're excited to welcome you back. To ensure we're complying with government regulations or state regulations, be sure to wear your face covering upon entry. If you want to post this on your social media, post a picture in your mask. People, there's so many designs that are out. You could even make it fun, like, wear your favorite mask when you come to shop with us, or wear your favorite mask when you want to pick up your whatever. So actually, if everyone could drop their business in the chat, that would kind of help me tailor my comments, because then I'll know who's in the room. But I think just being creative with how you do it, I think you can kind of soften it. I feel like a lot of people, if they've been shopping, especially like if they've been going to Walmart or Wegmans, those businesses have been requiring face coverings since, we've been doing it for quite some time. So I feel like, or something, show us some love, show us your mask. Absolutely. So I think people have become accustomed to wearing a face mask in public. And I went to the Garden Factory maybe last weekend or a few weeks ago, and everyone had them on. So I feel like when someone doesn't, I think they feel weird because everyone else around them has on like a face mask and they don't.
Great, thank you so much. Would you say that people's space, the physical space where they have their business, would you say that how that space is set up, how it's would you say that that is also part of communicating with people?
Yes, in terms of, so if they have a brick and mortar store?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, for example, a couple of days ago, I went to pick up dinner, and the restaurant had a big table at the entry, so you couldn't even go any further than that entry point. And, I thought it was like, okay, so what are they communicating to me here? They don't want me on their premises, or we will serve you. It's just how you perceive that. And I thought, wow, look, they're using the space, they're using props,
Yep.
using, furniture to send a message. So I just wondered if you could talk about that as people, again, are making plans to reopen. How should my space communicate the message that I want to get across?
Actually, I think that's a good idea. I think it feels weird to us because as people, we're relational by nature. And so we want to be close, we want to talk, we want to touch, we want to feel. And so when a barrier is put up and you can't get that close, you're like, oh my God. But I think given the times, I think that there's ways to do it. There's signage that you can put up. I went to another garden store and they had almost like a shield in front of the register. And, you know, they had one of those mobile things, like you pay by just sticking your credit card in there. They had it so far up, like the distance between the credit card machine and the cashier, it was such a large distance, but I understood. And then right next to the credit card machine was a big bottle of hand sanitizer. So I was like, okay, I get it, you know? So I think doing those kinds of things, I think it's okay. I think it's all in how you go about it. They could have had a little sign there, something clever, something creative, to make it a little bit more warm, but they were doing what they had to do. They did have some sales associates on the floor. And if you got too close to them, they like took a step back. So I could just envision them that they were having team meetings and, you know, saying that if anyone has a question, if they get too close, you know, because they all were doing it like in unison, like everybody. I was like, okay. But, you know, people got to do what they got to do and everyone wants to stay safe. So.
Yeah, that, you know, what my experience was, I had to stand there for a while and I kept peering through the glass door, which is now, you know, because they put that table there, like, you know, 8 feet away. And there was no service bell that I could ring to get somebody's attention. And it wasn't until somebody went to take a sip of something and she looked outside, she saw me and I waved. So these are just some of the things I think we have to be cognizant of and make sure that we're not unnecessarily inconveniencing our customers. You know, the other example I can give, I went to the public market last week, and my favorite cheese store, they had sort of the same thing. They put a table at the doorway, so you couldn't get any further than the doorway. They come to take your order. Then you have to step back outside and wait. It was kind of warm that day, and we were out there waiting for, you know, 15 minutes to pick up very small items. So again, just as much as possible, try not to unnecessarily inconvenience your customers. Think about all of that. I mean, if you normally have 2 people in the back room or, you know, the back end preparing orders, if you're going to have a setup like that, maybe you need an extra pair of hands so that it goes faster and people are not waiting too long.
Jessica, I would say, I guess, as far as, you know, with social media, maybe what are some of the things that people should really be focusing on right now, particularly for business owners that I guess are new to, you know, kind of using social media to promote their business? Are there maybe, you know, top 3 things that they should maybe do however often, to kind of promote their business?
Yes. First off, you should be posting content often. Don't let your social media pages go too long without posting anything. One thing that we have to remember is that Facebook and Twitter and all of these social media platforms have algorithms. And so people have to interact with your page either by liking, commenting, or sharing. If people aren't interacting with your page, they will lose your content in their newsfeed. So they'll no longer even be seeing what you post. So posting engaging content that gets people to interact with your page is the very first tip that I would say. For example, someone dropped in the chat, Jackson for Jackson Cleaning, commercial cleaning. So right now would be a great time. You know, everyone has to abide by, you know, these government guidelines. So in terms of cleaning, you should be putting out tips like, okay, do you need this done? We're available. Or here's some tips to keep your space clean. Or sanitation needed. You know, you got to kind of think creatively, and that's how you really leverage your social media. Also, you always want to make sure that you include a picture or video. So even if you do a short 30 or 45-second video as the owner, you know, to talk about what you're doing or what you have to offer, that could be something, you know, just a little bit different that you could add to your social media. So the thing is to not be scared of social media. Just go ahead, give it a try. And then your social media strategy is iterative. It's always changing. So you won't always get everything right the first time, but you'll learn and you'll become more comfortable. I mean, I do PR communications for a living, and even still, sometimes I have to think like, okay, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? How can I, be creative? And I just go ahead and put something out. And then if I think of saying it a different way, the next day I'll post again. So I would just say, go for it. If anyone has any questions, I will, if we don't have a business page, should we post? Absolutely. Yes, you can post on your personal page. I would encourage you to start a business page because at some point you want to separate yourself from the business. And I know for myself, I have an Instagram page and a Twitter page, and they're kind of intertwined with me. Like, it says Lalu_PR, but it's really me as opposed to a separate business page. And I was having a conversation with my interns the other day, like, I really think I need to start a separate page for the business because one, I want to hand it over to them to do. But two, when I think of other companies, if you go to Nike's page, you have no idea who the CEO is. If you go to Abercrombie and Fitch, you have no idea who the CEO is. And so, but as small business owners, we become the business. But there's a certain point in time where you might want to separate yourself so that you can be the CEO and manage it, but the business has a brand and an identity all its own.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. I guess so we actually have someone on, in participants that's a motivational speaker and a personal coach. Any type of, tips specifically to that type of industry?
Yes. So first I would say, do you have social media pages for yourself as a motivational speaker and what is it, a coach? Do you have that?
A speaker and a personal coach.
And a personal coach. Do you have a website? Because again, kind of separating who you are from your brand is something that you probably want to do, but you can still leverage your personal page. I leverage my personal page now. So I might share something on Lalu PR. I might post something on Lalu PR, but then I'll share it on my personal page. Or I will use my personal page to drive traffic to my social media page and or my business page. So there's ways to do it. Because you want to grow an audience. If you have a social media page, but you don't have a lot of followers, you got to build that audience, and it takes strategy to do that.
Okay, perfect. I think I've actually unmuted her, Ashley Dunwoody. She is the person I was mentioning to you. Ashley, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I was kind of curious because like my asset is myself. So I was wondering if it was necessary to separate myself from what I do, my mentoring and my personal coaching, motivational speaking, or should I just embody my brand and have it reflect on my personal page as well as on my other pages? Like, should I keep it separate or can I keep them the same? Does it matter?
No, you can keep them the same, but if you want to build it as its own brand, my recommendation would be, and it's just like if you wanted to have, I don't know if you kind of have a name that you go by or something, but that could be used on a Facebook page. Like, how there's a public figure page where you can like someone. Just think of any public figure that if you're following them on Facebook or Instagram, more so Facebook, it's not really their personal page, it's their like page. And so that's where you can separate, because sometimes with your personal page, you might want to share friends and family, or you might want to talk about what's happening in Minnesota right now, but maybe that's not something that you would talk about, that you would associate with your brand. So you got to think about that. And so that's exactly why I'm going through the process of creating a Lalu PR Instagram page, because I'm trying to separate myself, because maybe I want to put an IG story and I'm like, but I don't really want to associate that with my brand, right? So let me create a professional page that stands alone as Lalu Public Relations. And then on Instagram, I'm Lalu PR_CEO. So it's just something to think about as you're building.
Gotcha. Okay,
thank you.
Perfect. Let's see. Actually, I have a question that just came through. Any suggestions for making someone's blog more impactful for their business?
Can you tell me what your blog is about?
That is a good question.
Because otherwise it's like, it's just too broad. I can't.
Well, I would say, let me see. Well, in this situation, then I guess it would say, the company they work for, so a nonprofit organization.
So like the nonprofit would have a blog?
So like Pathstone as an example, like that type of
Okay.
nonprofit organization.
Because you got to figure out who's your target customer. Who are you talking to in your blog? Like I have a blog, right? Totally different brand, separate and apart from Lalu, but I have honed in on my specific target audience so that all of my content, all of everything that I write specifically talks to, it's women, specifically talks to women. And so when you want to make it more impactful, you got to have a sense of what do they need? What are they kind of craving for right now in this moment? Everyone is home, everyone is quarantined. People might be going stir crazy. They might want to get, there's so many different things going on right now. So making your blog more impactful means being more relevant, if that makes sense. Like you can't be tone deaf to whatever issues your particular target audience, like whatever they're experiencing. Like you got to talk directly to it, especially with the blog, because it's a platform where it's all mostly writing unless you're vlogging or something like that.
Gotcha. I guess that's probably a good segue into one of the things that you mentioned in your videos is regarding pain points.
Yes.
And kind of the difference between what a pain point is and, the solution and things like that. Could you maybe go into that a little more?
Okay, sure. Let me just, okay. So a pain point is the root problem a customer has. And so businesses exist to solve their customer's pain point. So a pain point would be, I hate to use the example that I use in the video because
it's a good example.
It's a good example. All right. So in the video, there's a little boy who had like a little boo-boo on his knee. He fell. He has a little ouchie or whatever. So if a parent came outside and they saw that their son, had a little injury, their immediate reaction, if it's bleeding, their immediate reaction is they want to stop the bleeding, right? So the parent would go to grab a bandage or whatever. They might clean it, or they might just automatically go to stop the bleeding. So if there's a company like the Band-Aid company or Ace Bandage or something, they would think that the product stopping the bleeding, they would think that their product alone solves the pain point. The pain point is actually that they want the bleeding to stop. So you would want a bandage that would remain on while someone is still active, or it's not going to come off if it gets wet, or if a person or a child is sweating or something like that. So you just always got to remember, like, what is the issue that the person is having? So for myself, if I'm a business owner and I'm having trouble getting the word out about my business, as a PR person, I can't just say, okay, well, you want to leverage your website and social media. I got to really get to the point. Well, what exactly are you experiencing? What's causing you to have difficulties getting your business out? I hope that makes sense. You got to get to the root of the problem, not just solving the problem, not just offering a solution, but getting to the root. And that's why I'm asking, well, tell me specifics about your business, because all I can do right now is kind of give you general answers. But if you tell me specifics, then I can really tailor it to help you.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess until we get some specifics coming through, then we'll, kind of have to go a little, stay in the general area, I suppose. What is, let me see from past, this is maybe like going back a step, but regarding hashtags. So what is what's the rule of thumb with hashtags? Are there too many, too little? What should you kind of use as a guideline when using hashtags?
Hashtags help you follow conversations. The platform where they're most valuable is Twitter. So if someone is having an event and they're like, oh, use our hashtag, All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, whatever, then you can follow a conversation by that, using that hashtag. If something is trending on Twitter, there's likely a hashtag or some kind of conversation that's happening. And so you can use that to follow the conversation. Hashtags are less effective on Facebook because people don't typically do that. You typically see whoever you interact with most in terms of your Facebook friends, until you're responding to those posts. Instagram, you can also use hashtags when you want to do a search. So in the search function where you can just kind of see anyone posting, you can actually follow or type in a hashtag if you're looking for something. So natural hair, makeup artistry, a cut crease for those who know about beauty. So yeah, so that's how you actually find the kind of content that you're looking for. Don't use 1,001 hashtags, because how can anybody follow you or find you? You got to be short and concise, and you want to use them frequently so that they can begin to pick up.
Okay. And so what about the hashtags that, let's say, normally when you start typing in a hashtag, it'll give you, like maybe a couple options, right? So then there's like, entrepreneur, hashtag entrepreneur, and it maybe has like 4 million some odd, posts. And then there's like entrepreneur life that maybe is a little less, which is maybe 2 million. Should you kind of steer clear of the ones that have like an enormous amount of posts, or something that has 12 posts? What's the rule of thumb with that?
Yes. Okay. So I had a friend who was really, really like well versed in all the hashtags and social media stuff. She said not to use the one that has a lot, because it's too broad. Right. It's like every entrepreneur, no matter what industry, is using that. And also it causes a lot of bots to follow you or to comment. And so you always have to kind of just keep an eye, like if something's on there that you don't want, just deleting comments. But trying to follow something that's just a little bit more specific, I think you would find more beneficial.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. All right, let's see here. And then what about, I guess, like, in industry in massage right now, right?
Yes.
So that's a very, no pun intended, but a very touchy situation right now, because, it's COVID. And again, with the social distancing, it's not really something that we can necessarily, indulge in at the moment. Do you have any recommendations for that type of industry right now, like what they can be doing in the meantime until we can get close again?
Absolutely. Again, you want to leverage your social media. So here's 3 tips to ease your back pain while at home. 1, 2, and 3. Or maybe you have any household items. Use this to make a video. You know what I mean? People, you got to look at the current situation, and then you need to pivot your own mind to figure out how can you help people in this current situation based on the skills that you have. If you're a masseuse, you probably went to school, you have certification, you know where certain pain points are, like physically on the body. A lot of mental stress is probably happening right now for different people. People are at home with their kids all day. They're trying to work. They're like, I just need a break. So help people through that process. Guide them. Maybe do something guided on Facebook Live. Okay. Join me for a 10-minute breather session. I don't know, whatever you would call it. But offer something like that.
Okay, perfect. And then I guess, is there a strategy as to, getting more followers, really? What's, what's the strategy behind that?
Yes, if you're a small business owner, like someone asked in the chat, if we don't have a business page, should we post on our personal? Absolutely. Leveraging your personal network first to build. So if you do post something on your business page about 3 ways to relax during the weekend, share that on your page, and then post something like, are you looking for ways to relax? Check out my new video on my Facebook page, because you just always want to drive traffic. So that would be the first way that I would say. And then once people get to your page, have a couple of posts that say, share this, or run a contest, or, do something that's engaging to get people to want to follow your content. But the content has to be, people have to find value in it. We are in a world where we're so saturated with stuff coming at us all the time. If people don't find value in what you have to offer, they're going to scroll past.
Gotcha. All right. Let me see if there's anything else coming through here.
I have a question for you. Can you share some, maybe, top 3 strategies for dealing with the media, especially small business owners who don't have the resources to hire a PR person, and considering the media sort of, they take editorial license to even, you do an interview and then the final article looks nothing like how you thought the interview went. So just some tips that people could employ on their own to deal with the media.
Yes. So I would say following journalists at different stations so you could see their beat. And when I say the beat, it's like what they cover. I know that DNC, they have someone in food and beverage. They have someone like home and lifestyle. And so whatever, that respective journalist beat is, like, you kind of need to introduce yourself and to let them know that, hey, I'm here. Here's a service that I offer. Right now, these news outlets are looking for businesses to talk because everyone is like concerned, like, when are reopening? Like, that is the main topic. So you almost have to put yourself out there. It's like dating. So don't be ashamed. Just totally go for it. And in terms of taking editorial license, yes, they do that all the time. As a PR person, I'm like, that was not accurate. And so they always want to report on accurate information and factual information. So if you see something that's inaccurate, use certain words that are, buzzwords for them to get, things published or promoted in the right way, broadcast in the right way.
Would you recommend doing so if you're contacted by a reporter, would you recommend doing some due diligence on that outlet and the reporter, and then ahead of time preparing something yourself?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. You should do that because first off, the media, there's a lot of pros to that. That's a lot of free promotion to tell your story, to talk about your business. So you want to make sure that you're ready. I just did a presentation for a group of high school students out of Connecticut. They had this like conference. It's the class of 2020. They're getting ready for the next phase. And they wanted me to talk to them about building your personal brand. And so I said, let excellence be your brand. And so even as a business owner, always let excellence be your brand in everything that you do.
Is there anything, I guess, do you have any recommendations on, I guess, within those news outlets, like as a small business owner, should you be reaching out, to the news or to radio stations, or, is there anything that maybe you should steer clear from?
I guess maybe some of the more like testier topics. You might, if you are not very confident or well-versed in something, don't put yourself out there like that. But if you feel confident in what you do and what you have to offer, then definitely put yourself out there, make those connections, and always be available. Prior to you guys coming on, I was just having a conversation that the news works very fast. They're always on hard deadlines. And so you have to be ready at a moment's notice if they're looking, for a subject to interview for a story that's going to air on the noon show. So just being ready, kind of keep in mind yourself as a consumer of media, but also put yourself in their shoes. If you had to produce a show or if you were a journalist, just think about how they report the news and the kinds of questions that they ask, the kind of angles and how they frame stories. So you kind of your mind has to go back and forth a little bit so that you're prepared and so that you're not, kind of caught off guard.
Gotcha. Is there anything that, that you think business owners should have prepared, like not necessarily a bio, but, whenever they're kind of reaching out to these folks, as something like some type of standard information so that it comes across all platforms the same?
Yeah, I would at least say a boilerplate of your business description.
Okay.
Something short and sweet to describe your business so that the layperson understands.
Okay. All right, let me see. And there's a question that says, if you could only have one conversation with a business owner who is struggling to stay open right now, how would you coach them on promoting themselves during this crisis?
I would say promoting yourself, making your business relevant in this current time. Because if there's not a need for what you supply, people aren't going to have a reason to even seek after what you provide. So that relevance piece is like so critically important. Why do people need your business, your product, or your service?
Okay. And then as far as like, so maybe if that's something that people with this time, they're seeing that maybe what they have right now isn't as relevant as maybe it was before. So they're actually taking the time to see, what's actually happening. Do you have any recommendations of, I guess, how they can really find out if it's relevant? Like, are they reaching out directly to who their consumers would be?
Yes, for sure. I talked about this, and I think the first video that I did.
Oh, 1 second. All right, there you
go. Okay, that's okay. I talked about this in my first video, repositioning your business during a crisis. If your particular service, product, or business is not relevant right now, this is a great time to come up with some new ideas. Let something emerge out of this. Where do you see a hole in the market? Where do you see a gap? How can you maybe offer something that's slightly related to what you do, but that is relevant? Or maybe it's something completely different. You don't have to be married to your menu of services as they currently stand. Lalu gets new services all the time because someone calls me and they'll say, Jessica, can you do this? And I'll think about it. And if it's something I can do, I'll say yes. And then guess what? I'm going to my website and I'm adding it as a service, an item, or something that I can do for them. So don't, oh God, I want to use an example. Y'all remember Kodak, right? The Polaroids, they didn't want to move. They didn't want to transition to digital. But look what happened. Don't be so, what's the word that I'm looking for? Just unflexible. Be flexible. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Be flexible, go with the times, and change with the times.
Gotcha. There's a question in the chat says, do you recommend spying, maybe not a good term, but spying on your competitor so you see where some of these service gaps exist and find ways to fill those gaps?
Yes. You don't have to call it spying. It's researching. Market research. Absolutely. And it's so funny that you asked that question. And this is why I love my interns. First off, like they're fresh out of school, so they have all this in their mind. And the one young lady asked me, she's like, well, who are your competitors? And I could name them. I'm like, these are the businesses that offer the same services and who go after the same clients that I do. And she's like, okay, I want to look on their websites to see what they're doing or what they're not doing or whatever. No, that's smart. Mm-hmm. That's smart. You got to think. So, and there's always a space for you. Let's look at Burger King, McDonald's, and Wendy's. All fast food, also burgers and fries, but each have a little something different that they offer, right? And so because each of them have a little spin on what they do, different people like them for different reasons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there's always a space for you, but you got to find your lane. You got to find your niche and you got to stick to it. And then always remain a student of your craft. So don't ever, if you're in cleaning, okay, well, what new tools are out? You know, make sure that your supply is up to date or that you have the latest, and then you can leverage that when you're marketing.
Okay, perfect. And then there's a question that says, what is a good way to reach out to other players in my industry and get insight without giving away my own strategy?
So you want their strategy, but you don't want to give away yours? So it depends on what you're looking for. If you approach it in a way that you want to glean some information or you want to learn from them, I think you can broach it that way, but don't make it seem like you're being, sneaky. You're like trying to figure it out. Like, I think there's ways to go about it. If I wanted to reach out to someone who's doing the same thing that I'm doing, their NPR, like what specifically am I asking for? And how can I word it in such a way where it's like, I'm really trying to learn because I believe that you're the subject matter expert. I value what you have to bring to this space. I value what you have to bring to this industry, and I'm genuinely looking to learn. So when you approach it like that, that's a little bit different than how you get those people on TV. You know what I mean? So it's all about, that saying, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it. The same thing can be applied here.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's see if we have anything else. I guess, is there anything that you'd like to touch on that we haven't maybe mentioned within the current conversation, or even like what you put up for content on our YouTube channel?
Let me see some points. I think just stressing the point of being flexible right now, not being wedded to what was. You know, you keep hearing us talk about we're going into a new normal. Like, that's going to be a real thing. So whatever you were doing, you cannot come out of this pandemic thinking you're going to be able to do the same exact thing and get the same exact results. Mm-hmm. It's not realistic. So be flexible, think creatively, don't be scared. I know for me, when I first started my business, fear, doubt, and anxiety literally had like a hold on me. Like, I was so scared to do anything. But fear is a liar, and you will hold yourself back if you allow fear to take a front seat. Mm-hmm. You're the driver of this car. So put your foot on the accelerator and go.
On here, question for you. You mentioned earlier Minneapolis. As more and more businesses are using their influence and platform to take a public stand on social issues like the extrajudicial murders of African Americans in this country, how would you guide people, especially the young lady who said that her business and personal brands are intertwined? How would you guide people who feel compelled to make a public stand about issues like that? How would you guide them to do that?
I think there is a way. So in the new newsletter for La Lu PR, we're adding a part for socially conscious content, because I'm going to be talking about those things. But I also recognize that if you take a stand, just be ready for what might come. Everybody's not going to agree with you. You know, some people can take that better than others. Some people can't. So evaluate yourself. You can certainly do it because the one example that I talked to, remember I mentioned I did a presentation for a group of high school seniors in Connecticut. We talked about Nike taking a stand with Colin Kaepernick. And I brought up other examples like Adidas and Reebok. And I asked them, do you think that those two companies could have taken a stand in the same way that Nike did? And I'll tell you that the answer is no. They don't have the clout or the power that Nike has. Also, Nike knows their target customer. They know who buys their product the most. And so because of that particular demographic, they made a very calculated move. It wasn't so much that they really, you know, stand. I mean, I'm sure that they do stand, but they seen what was happening and they basically took advantage of an opportunity to say, okay, if we get behind him, we know our target market and we know what can happen, but they also took some hits. Mm-hmm. So you got to just think about both sides of the equation. You know, can your business take a hit at this time if there's someone or a group of individuals who don't agree, who say, well, you know what, I'm not going to shop with her because I disagree with her thoughts on X, Y, and Z. So you just have to be mindful. And that's why I think that kind of separating yourself gives you a little bit of leeway there. But if you don't care, you know, go for it. But I just think kind of knowing yourself and knowing your target audience is going to help you make that decision.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Knowing your customer base, right? Mm-hmm. This is something you think that they would be, they would react positively to, then, you know, maybe it's a good risk for you to take. If not, or if you don't know your customer base, you know, maybe not take a public stand, but separate that out on your private platforms.
We have a question regarding that. It says, would that be the same as sharing the information without committing?
Is that in response to the person talking about strategy, Demetria? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just want to know before I answer.
Well, I was actually, when you were talking about social issues.
Yes.
You know, like sometimes I might just share something that I read. I may not have a comment, but with that being in relation to my personal account and knowing that I have a business account, like I don't post it on my business account, but because, you know, they're related. Mm-hmm. You know, that's putting out a personal comment on something, is that would be the same thing as really making a statement about it without actually having a conversation about it.
Okay, I understand. It's like, it's yes and no. And I don't want anyone to feel apprehensive about taking a stand on issues. You can do that. And I think that people know that social media has become a sounding board. So everyone is making comments or posts about anything these days, you know? And so you can do that. It's just that I feel like for me, the way that I've built my brand, people know me and Lalu and can separate it. And so if I'm taking a stand on something or I feel strongly about something and I post it, I think most people know that this is coming from me, but I'm not going to post something that's detrimental to my brand, if that makes sense. So again, it's all about how you go about it. So don't feel apprehensive about doing it. Just think about it.
Okay, thank you.
If there's anything, I guess, while we're kind of waiting for some questions to come through, you know, maybe you kind of touched on this before, I guess, you know, if there's something that people should take away from this particular discussion, you know, what should it be other than being flexible? Because you did say that.
Yes, being flexible, not being scared. Honestly, fear just holds so many people back. And just remember to let excellence be your brand. And whatever you do and however you approach it, just always operate with, you know, putting your best foot forward, your best self forward, and building a brand that's reputable and trustworthy. People spend their money where they feel like there's trust. You know, you don't want to deal with like a shaky business person or whatever. You want to feel like, you know, they're going to do right by you. So human relationships always come first before anything else. Public relations, your relationship with the public.
Gotcha. If there's a, you know, if someone is, you know, taking this time now to really look into how they should be promoting their business and things like that, do you have any recommendations as far as like either books or podcasts or websites or anything like that where people may be able to pick up on a couple of tips?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Medium is really good. I follow them on Twitter. It's like a publication. It's almost like an online magazine. They're really good. There's also one called Entrepreneur. It's another online publication. And then the third one, I want to say,
These are all on Twitter?
well, they're online publications. I just happen to follow their respective Twitter pages.
Gotcha.
I think the third one is Hootsuite. Hootsuite is like a social media platform, but they do give tips around like business. And HubSpot. That's another one. But so going onto their websites, but also following them on social media so you can kind of see like every time they have like a new article out, or joining their mailing list so their articles come right to your inbox.
Perfect. There's a question that says, how do I keep my spirits up if I don't see immediate return of investment from my marketing and promotion strategy?
That's a good question. A lot of people, they feel kind of defeated. You know, if you put up a post and you get like one like or no likes, it's a marathon, not a race. You have to just keep doing it. You have to keep at it. I've been doing Lalu PR since 2016. I'm not even sure if I'm at like 1,000 followers on my Facebook page yet. And I'm like, but sometimes it's not always about the numbers, but it's about being consistent. It's about putting out quality content. And yes, you kind of have to encourage yourself sometimes, to keep it going. But just know it's a process.
Gotcha. Perfect. And I know, particularly, social media like Instagram, it's very visual. And so if you're not doing videos, then you have to put, graphics up. Do you have any recommendations on how people can get, decent looking graphics up if that's not their background?
Absolutely. I'm going to drop it in the chat. Canva.com, flyers, everything that you can possibly imagine. They have templates and you can tailor them. You can put in your own photos, or you can use the stock photos that they have. For me, and one of the articles that I was reading, because I offer a service, I don't have anything tangible to show you. I don't have jewelry to show you. I don't have, something that I made. And so I have to show people what I do.
Right.
So even like today, there's a big fundraiser taking place for Food Link, but it's virtual. And so I did the press release for it, and the DNC picked it up. So when I went to the DNC online on social media, I actually literally took a screenshot of the post that they made. I cropped it, and then I posted that on my Instagram.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
And I also want to say, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because I do give out tips to help business owners improve their marketing and their PR. My website is www.lalupr.com. If you're interested in a consultation or anything like that, feel free to reach out.
Perfect. And we're coming to the end in just a bit. Any questions? Anyone else? Any comments? Anything you have an urge to get answered? Feel free.
Yes, and let me know if you found this information helpful.
Definitely. I personally will say I found it very helpful. It's definitely good to hear from someone that like this is your industry, right? So you know how this functions. And social media, I've said this before, I personally have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with social media. It's like I'm on it, to see kind of what's happening. That's how I end up actually finding out about a lot of things. But I personally don't necessarily put things out there. And now, just the work that we're doing for Pastone Enterprise Center, it's been a little bit of a transition just to see like, oh, okay, like this is, I have to jump on the train with this. So definitely it's always helpful to hear from someone, an expert in this, to kind of see, are we doing the right thing and what can we be doing better?
Totally agree.
Demetria says, this was awesome and great for someone who likes to be in the background, needing to now come to the front.
Yes. Come to the light. Come to the light.
I feel your pain, Demetria. Let's see. There's a question that says, are there certain platforms that are better fit for certain businesses? Or is it all about how you use them?
Yes, there are platforms that are better. Again, because Instagram is photo driven. If you feel like that's going to be a challenge for you, then Instagram is probably not the first one that you want to go to. And also, I do have a presentation where I talk about leveraging social media to maintain sales. You don't have to be on all three platforms. Be on the one where you can put the most time and attention and rock out with that one. So if it's Facebook, then go full steam ahead with that. If it's Instagram, likewise.
Okay, perfect. All right, I think, let's see. All right, no, I think we're pretty good. I don't think there are any additional questions at this point. Everyone, I did put Jessica's website in the chat, lalupr.com. Again, follow her on social media. We are intertwined, so if you can't find her, you can find her. I'm sure you'll be able to find her on our Biz at Buffalo post as well, or Pastone Enterprise Center. Our website, bizatbuffalo.org. And Jessica will be back with us in the fall for our Tech Talk series. Yay! So super excited about that. Again, thank you everyone for participating. We really appreciate, you guys just coming out, supporting us for this Biz at Buffalo Survival Kit series. And we will be resuming some of our workshops moving forward. So stay tuned, and we didn't forget, we do have 3 participants that are going to be winning $25 Amazon gift cards. So we will, let's see if we want to send that out right now. All right, let's see. All right, so we have Mr. Antoine Jackson. Let's put the little clapping hands up here. Woo for Antoine. Thank you. He's always on our calls, definitely trying to move his business forward. We also have, let's see, who else do we have? We have Miss Ashley Dunwoody. All right, clapping hands again. Yay for Ashley. Woohoo! And let's see, who else do we have on here? And we have Demetria. Yay! So you folks will be receiving $25 Amazon gift cards. Again, thank you for joining us. We hope you got as much out of this presentation as we wanted you to get. So I'll actually send you folks an email just to get your information so we can get those gift cards out to you. I'm not 100% if they're virtual or if we're mailing them, but I will get that information out. So again, thank you everyone for participating. Jessica, thank you for being part of this Survival Kit series. Super excited to see you in Tech Talk and just learn, just really pick your brain. So thank you everyone. All right, take care everyone. Happy Friday.
Bye.
Bye.